It really is poetic. It makes actually too much sense that I would make a video talking all about the chances that a certain guy, the front runner right now, according to the MVP tracker on Basketball Reference, the chances that this guy wins the MVP. I don't really mention this other guy who's in second that plays for the Mavericks, who just so happened to put up like the greatest stat line probably anybody's ever had in a game since I've been alive. I don't even know if that's an exaggeration. I know it's never been done. How about the way that it was done? Coming back from down 9 with 30 seconds left, which literally has never been done. So that's 2 different records, the comeback and then the stat line. Making history. Luka's never won the MVP award. He's always like the number 1 bettor's favorite every single offseason. And the team generally is not good enough. Last year they were the 4th seed, and they ended up making the Western Conference Finals. And it's interesting that Nikola Jokic was a guy who won the MVP on a team that was a 6th seed, so a worse team, record-wise. Not only by a couple games, but his team and the guys he was playing with. Look, listen, as bad as this current Mavericks supporting cast is for Luka right now, that Nuggets supporting cast last year was certainly worse than the support Luka had last year, especially with Jalen Brunson, who, by the way, was much steadier player than anybody that this team has right now. I mean, it can get real goddamn ugly sometimes. Sometimes people blame Luka for not being a good teammate. If you were watching the Mavs play on Christmas, you know that to start this game, the Lakers sent double teams, get the ball out of Luka's hands, and you got a wide open shooter, notably a Reggie Bullock, Tim Hardaway Jr., an entire half of the court of space to shoot the ball with not a defender in the same stratosphere, and these guys weren't even getting close. It was ugly. It was like watching a G League team. I was cursing at my TV, and it just goes to show. This team is missing players right now. Not only do they not have a good supporting cast for Luka as it is, but without Dorian Finney-Smith, without Maxi Kleber, and you see what the guy has to do just to win games. Like, he had 50 the other night in Houston just for them to win. It's not like he's padding his stats. It's not like he's just running up the score. This guy has to play every second of the second half in games against teams that they should really not have this much of an issue with. For example, last night, I know the Knicks have been playing pretty well lately. They didn't have their full team. No Brunson, no RJ Barrett after the first minute of the game. And they're at home. This is where they win their games. And this is what it takes just to win. Just to squeak by a win in overtime. And this is the problem with Luka Doncic's MVP chances. He's number 2 on this list right now. In the end, we know how the MVP has worked historically. It's only been recently that guys started winning this award that weren't really in the top 2 seeds. Like Russell Westbrook, guy averages a triple-double. You have a great narrative where KD leaves, and Westbrook is playing with a bunch of role players, does it all every single night, and pretty much wins the award off of that. Then you got Joker last year, who kind of a similar scenario. He's just putting up monster numbers and willing his team to, I believe it was 48 wins. Recently, we've shifted to an MVP narrative being valid, where your team doesn't necessarily have to win 55 games, but if you literally have your team on your shoulders, you can win this award. Luka Doncic, what more needs to be said about him and what he's doing with this team? What more could he do? He's not even nearly as much of a liability on defense as he used to be. The reason he would win MVP over Nikola Jokic, or the reason anybody would, is because of voter fatigue. I don't think this list is really accurate in terms of probability just because of voter fatigue. They really do not. The NBA, I'm telling you, they do not want to give Nikola Jokic this award for a 3rd straight time. They're only going to do it if they have to, if it is so obvious. Joel Embiid is runner-up twice in a row. And honestly, he's got a better shot than Luka, if you ask me. I think he's going to end up with 8 to 10 more wins with this team. He's actually averaging more points than Luka, believe it or not. But listen, Luka, he's a spectacle. He draws all the media attention with how he plays and the individualized aspect of just the way he can carry a team. It's incredible to watch. He's clutch. He's a marvel. And he hasn't won the award. He's the young star. He's the heir to the throne of what the face of the league is. If there isn't a face of the league in a couple years, he's the guy. And so, looking at what he has to do every single night just to win basketball games, if he finishes 5-7 games above 500, he's going to have a compelling case as well for the MVP. Here's the problem, though. There are so many good candidates right now. If you look at this list, I think it's wrong because they have Kevin Durant at 6. I would have Kevin Durant at least in my top 4. He's the type of guy, I don't see what more he could be doing for his team, what more he could be doing to be higher on this list. Steph Curry getting hurt. Like, he was as good as any of the guys on this list when he was playing. He gets hurt, and it's like, if none of these other guys get hurt, how would Steph Curry win the MVP? My point is basically that there are so many good candidates this year. I know we say this probably every year, but it feels like this year, the MVP race is unbelievable. Yeah, I feel like there's 6 or 7 guys that could win it. And the thing with Luka is his team is going to be the worst out of all 6 or 7 of those guys. besides maybe Steph Curry. And so if Joel Embiid finishes the year and his numbers are just as ridiculous as Luka and his team has a way better record, how would he not get the award over Luka? Joker won't average as many points, but if he averages a triple-double and he wins 55 games, Luka cannot win this award because he is not going to win 50 games. This team sucks around him right now. They need to start playing a lot better or make a trade. Something's got to happen because I've been saying this. Like, this is not a sustainable way to play throughout a season. Luka's going to get fatigued at a certain point. He might get an injury where he has to sit out a couple weeks and the team tanks and they're like an 8 seed. They're a 6 seed right now and they could finish the season in 5th, I think, at the highest. I don't see anything higher than that. And so the last thing I would like to say, I guess, is that yes, players have won this award at the 6th seed and it is possible, but it's just the fact that, like, look at the competition this year for MVP. It is a tight race. You got to have every possible edge that you can think of, and he just doesn't have that, unfortunately. Not his fault that his team isn't good, but it's just the case. Like, this guy can't do everything for his team every single night. He is as close to Superman as we have just because of how he can win a game like that last night. But from every possible action on the offensive end, running every play, making the right play every single time. The people that are voting on these awards, they're not thinking of every single game these guys played because they don't watch every game they played. They'll remember certain things. Most likely, they're looking at all the factors. They're looking at winning percentage. They're looking at efficiencies. They're looking at how good is your team when you're off the court versus on the court. They're looking at how you did in the biggest games against the best teams, clutch, stats, obviously. So my stance on Luka's MVP chances is just, I'm not very high on it. I've said this before, like, it's not his fault, but you're just going to have a disadvantage when it comes to the win-loss, and other guys are going to be 55 wins, like Jason Tatum, and that's just going to be a hard category to make up behind a lot of these guys who definitely will have a better record than you. I just don't think he can do it for a whole year. Like, this pace, like what he was doing last night, had to do against Houston. This dude's back hurts, man. This is not human. You're not supposed to be able to do stuff like this. So, you know, hopefully he doesn't get injured or anything like that. But this is the type of thing. It takes a toll. Let me know what you guys think, and I'm out.